Hi guys, Victor from Tech Heads here. Before we get started today, I would like to announce once again that our Patreon is officially live, but this time with some extra features. When you sign up, you officially become a producer of the show. This means that you will get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content such as our extensive show notes. On top of this, you will also have access to the episodes 4 days earlier than everybody else. If this sounds good to you, feel free to check it out at patreon.com/techheads. Now on with the show.
4, 3, 2, 1. So, here we go.
How you all feel tonight?
Tech Heads back once again for episode 35. 35, yes. I thought it was 36 already for some reason, but yeah, okay. Episode 35. We're fresh off of our 1-year anniversary episode that aired last week. In case you missed it, so go check it out if you are interested in seeing us celebrate. But with this episode, I'd say we're basically back to business as usual, where we usually like to pick a main topic of conversation for each episode, and then this could be a particular coding language. This could be a framework. I mean, this could be a subtopic within one of those topics at a higher level. So, but of course, it's not all business. We like to have a silly, fun time while we cover these topics. So sometimes we play games, talk about funny news, and recommend some cool tech usually for you guys. So whether you're Joe Rogan or Neil Young, welcome to the show. Let's all welcome my incredible co-host, Anna.
Thank you for the intro. Thank you so much. It's I'm happy to be here for another episode, and I want to give a good shout out. We just found out that we reached another all-time high episode downloads, so that's due to the people who still listen to us after a whole year. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, welcome old tech heads and welcome new tech heads. So yeah. We really appreciate you guys checking it out. Let's just get this out of the way. We have a Patreon. I probably already talked about that in the intro. Feel free to check that out. You get all the notes that we like to do for the show. You get early access, all that stuff. We have Twitter. We have an email. We have LinkedIn. We're all over the place. So just find us. Yeah. I'm sure you'll find us. I don't want to say .com/techheads1234. Like, you'll find it. I believe in you guys. You listen to the show because you're smart, so I'm sure you'll find it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We have to be on your radar somewhere other than just, the episodes. But yeah, we would love the interaction. So feel free to reach out if you want to. If not, that's cool too.
Yeah. So actually this past week, I have a friend in the building that I live in, and I don't know, like we go out and we play pool or, just hang out in our apartment community lounge or whatever. And just this past week we're hanging out, and he was like, yo, I kind of want to learn a little bit about, web development and stuff. And I was like, dude, let's do it. So I sat him down, not with the gun to his head, I promise, but I sat him down for like 2 hours and just took him through the very basics of front end web stack, basically, and showed him like what the day in the life for a developer kind of looks like and what you can expect to be doing, but also the necessary tools that you would need to learn them in the first place. So like where to get started is such a big hurdle to overcome as well. So that was really fun to do because it felt like I was almost live podcasting, but unfortunately without you. So I was missing my other half with that. But it was really fun to just sit down and actually feel like a teacher in that aspect,
Yeah. That's really cool. So he's not in the tech world or the tech field at all?
No, but he does kind of work for a huge tech company, but that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, he wants to actually enter into the field of, I guess we could call it true tech, because he doesn't have a tech role. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I'm totally with you. I think it's really it's so interesting to like share what you know. Like, you know, you've had years of experience and I have too. So like when I have to talk to someone, I notice like how much progress I've made over the years, you know, like with the like my personal knowledge base. But it's really cool to like pass on the interest because I'm really passionate about it. So if I'm talking about it, like you know, I think that comes across. So yeah, it's really cool to teach someone about like, especially the beginning, you know, like, I don't know, it's just like, I just get like a tingling feeling, like butterflies because it's just so fun. I love what I do, you know, I love the field. So sharing that same interest to someone, you know, if they are like in the early stages, and especially if they do plan on like doing a career transition, it's cool to be part of that. Yeah.
It is for sure. The only thing that's scary with it is like seeing them like not understand at first, and they're like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, you know, just that whole thing I do feel bad about because sometimes I'm not too good at explaining stuff like so that everybody else can understand. I have to like prepare to do that, but you know, on a whim, just like showing somebody how to use basic JavaScript, I'm like, oh, you just do a for loop, and he's like, dude, I don't know what that is. I'm like, oh, sorry, yeah, like just
right.
stuff like that. So, but I don't think I scared him off because he wants to meet again and talk more. So, yeah,
that's awesome.
Hopefully he's not just being a friendly neighbor saying that. Hopefully he means it. I'm not gonna make him do it, I promise. But we also did get into we were talking about crypto and stocks as well, because that's kind of where most of my attention has been at recently, for sure. Even, you know, obviously not doing the best currently, but I mean, if you want to look at it optimistically, basically like in crypto and normal stocks, like we're doing better this week. Like we're up this week. If you want to just like zoom in really, really small, just to the week timeline.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's what you mentioned last week too. You know, we were talking about it, like not focusing too much on the short term developments. You know, with like the price of, you know, crypto and or like the conversion or exchange and stuff. But yeah, I honestly like. I think I saw this advice on Reddit to like this week, and it's what I've been going by for months now. I'm like, I fulfilled my 2021 investment goals and I let it sit there, you know? So I do check it. I mean, I'm not even going to say that I check it daily anymore, but I do keep an eye because I get alerts, you know, every now and then. And it's just kind of like holding on for dear life. I might be an optimistic fool. I'm hoping that it's not just that, you know, it's going to pay off in the long term, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, like look how far, you know, it has come so far. So I don't know. I believe in it. I hope that, you know, it does rebound this year. So we'll see. I guess, you know, it's still early on in the year. There's plenty of time for it to go up.
Yeah. I mean, speaking just based off of the very little knowledge that I know, obviously don't listen to me, but I am pretty confident just from like the little research I've done for at least Bitcoin, like looking at Bitcoin for the next like month or so. I do think it's going to go down even a little bit more. Just looking at the graphs and stuff, I just don't see it shooting back up. I do see that happening like eventually, like, you know, relatively soon, but I don't think this is the worst, or I don't think this is the worst that it's going to be for the short term. So I'm ready for that, and I'm down with it. But I do think that we're going to see some like some good explosion with it, and you know, obviously with all other crypto as well. I recently just started looking into staking. Do you know anything about that? Or yeah, I'm sure you do. You're like,
you know, I've heard of it, but I've never done it. So you I think if you did some research, you probably know more than me at this point.
Yeah, I've done very little, but it's definitely interesting me. but obviously, it's just the risk factor that I'm not super stoked on. But I don't know. It is like, it depends on how you do it, obviously. But if you can still like take a conservative route by doing it and still have relatively low risk. So I'm thinking about getting more into that. So we'll see. Maybe by next week I'll have a Lamborghini, but also next week I could be recording from a cardboard box. So we'll see. Who knows?
But this is for crypto, right? Not for regular stocks and options. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
specifically.
Yeah.
Right now I'm looking at stakingrewards.com, and there's a little, you can look at like Solana, for instance, and there's a calculator where you can show how much you'll earn by, investing this much per whatever amount of time per month, per year, whatever. And then you can adjust the graph so that you can make it so that it stays the current price, or you can make it so that it's very bullish, so it goes up about 50%, or you could be someone who's a little more pessimistic and set it to negative 25% for bearish. And then that'll give you a trajectory of how much you'll earn based off of the APY. So for just like it's just cool to plug numbers in here. So let's say you invested 1,000 stakingrewards.com. I don't know. Oh, there we go. Okay. 1,000. Perfect. Let's say you put in $1,000 every 90 days. And God, this thing must be running on Electron. Hi, I'm Victor DeBeld, and welcome to Tech Heads. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
We're going to just abandon that because this website is being very slow for me. So I just made a joke about, what's it called? Electron. So that actually happens to be our main topic today. And did I open it with some shade? Yeah. But I'm still all for Electron. I still really am curious about it. I'm still thinking about actually using it one day. People on my team are currently using it. It is really cool and it's interesting. So we're gonna just hop in, I think, and discuss exactly what Electron.js is. So, Anna, did you want to open up and tell us a little bit about it at an introductory level?
Yeah, sure. So everything I know about Electron, I learned this morning. I probably had heard of the framework, previous to this, but I didn't know that, it's a cross-platform. It's a way to build cross-platform HTML, CSS, and JavaScript applications, but they're not web apps. They're desktop applications. Now, I think to give some background, this framework was used, it came about, it originated because of the Atom text editor. That's one of the originals. It's in line with Sublime Text, because it's not an IDE, but still a very popular text editor. And I remember that I used to really like it. It looks beautiful. So it was, the framework, kind of stemmed from the Atom project, I would say. And it was also used, to create VS Code. The framework is used to create VS Code. It's powered by the Chromium engine. So I feel like it has all of the components to be a web application, but it's, the stack, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, allow it to run on the desktop level. But those, I would say, are probably the cool pros, because it can be cross-platform. Like if you have a Mac, Linux, if you have Windows, I'm pretty sure that you can use VS Code, which is an example of an application that you can run cross-platform. But with it, and kind of a segue from the shade that you threw at Electron, yeah, it comes with quite the baggage. Like it has, unfortunately some cons, but we'll get to that in a second. Like, what do you know about it?
Well, it first came on my radar, like I said, because some people on my team started talking about it, and they're even implementing it into a current tool that they're building. So I was like, oh, so like not just big companies use this, because from like I mean I had definitely heard it in passing and just in articles, but I just didn't look into it too much. But I did know that a couple of the big guys out there were using it. Like Slack is built on Electron, Teams, VS Code, GitHub Desktop. So like, I mean, just those four I use every day at work. So I was like, oh, that makes sense why my computer is so slow. A couple more examples. There's Skype, Discord, OBS, WordPress Desktop, WhatsApp, Atom, like she mentioned. So yeah, when my team was talking about it, the first thing they brought up was the speed, but that's an okay sacrifice because it's an internal tool. So like we're not worried about customers being thrown off by, the speed or lack thereof. So it's fine because you get the convenience of cross-platform compatibility. So so once we were talking about it and they explained it really well, I had started kind of deep diving into it and seeing how else it's implemented and what other people have used it and exactly how you can get started with that. So that's what we're going to talk about today, basically. So, so one thing you might ask yourself is, how does Electron even accomplish this cross-platform compatibility when all you have to do is code with what usual normal web developers already know, which is the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and some Node.js. So how can you build something that is going to work on Mac, PC, and Linux with just one code base? And it's actually quite simple and it's genius. So Electron launches a headless Chromium browser, which has access to the Node.js API via Electron's own API, which has plenty of use cases, but probably the biggest being that your app can theoretically work without an internet connection, which this obviously doesn't count if your code requires an internet connection, like chatting with people on Teams or Slack or whatever. But I don't know. There's other apps that are out there, like note-taking apps, games, productivity apps. Those don't require internet unless you're syncing them with other devices. You can still use them, no problem, because you don't need the internet to access them. Whereas if you were using a web app, that might do something like the same, like note-taking or whatever, because they do have browser-specific note-taking apps. If you don't have the internet, then you're not going to be able to access that web app. So luckily, we have desktop apps that allow us to use them without the internet. Getting started with it is actually relatively easy. So like we said, some prereq information would be maybe going back, checking out an old episode. You can listen to the Big Three in web development, where we talk about HTML, CSS, JavaScript. See if that, tickles your fancy or whatever the term is. Check those out. And then we also have a Node.js episode, which is one of our more popular episodes for some reason. Check those two out. See how comfortable you can get with them. And once you do that, you're ready to actually get started with Electron.js, because it's really just using those four things just in an Electron.js environment with the Node package or Yarn, whatever you use. But so the Electron framework is built around those four items. So getting started with it, you can easily install it into some.
There's a little delay, so trim this from the vinyl version.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can now.
Oh, were you gone?
It froze for a second there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. That might be my internet too. So yeah, you can get started with it using npm install electron --save -dev, which I don't remember exactly what the -dev means, but I think it has something to do with if you were to start another Electron project, further down the line, I think that it somehow makes it so that they're the same version or whatever, so that there's no conflict. Yeah, something along those lines. I'm definitely like a little off, but it has something to do with versioning, I think. And then, so once you install it with Node or Yarn, you just go in the config file, and in order to make it so that Electron launches when you do npm start, as you would to like start the server, you just add start : electron dot in your config file, and then that's literally it. So that is just getting started with that. Do you have anything else to add with getting started with Electron or anything along those lines?
No, yeah, that's pretty much what I came across too. So
yeah. I mean, it's quick and easy. There's not really much more to say as far as getting it set up before you actually start coding.
Yeah, exactly. I think as far as like the installation, the getting started process for a lot of apps tend to be as quick as an npm or yarn install, and then usually you just run another command. Like in the cases of like other frameworks that we talked about, because they were web frameworks, then it would immediately open like a browser screen or your local host port 8000 or 88 or whatever. And there you go. You have your boilerplate code, and it's like you have your hot reload. So whatever changes you make, it's going to apply right away. But in this case, it's a desktop application. So it's just it's a bit different. But yeah, like you said, there's so many cool apps that I also use on a daily basis that were built on Electron. I think that the consensus is a bit mixed on the pros and cons, or like whether it's a good a good framework to keep using. But I feel like, I don't know, there's a reason it's still around. Like you said, it's easy to get started. You can make it cross platform. So yeah, there are a lot of benefits too. Did you come across any of the cons?
Yeah, I mean a couple, but we'll hit those at the end. I think we'll try to keep the audience intrigued and maybe let them try it out for themselves. So,
right.
The next couple of steps as far as working with it are super basic and work just as they would if you were creating a web app. But as Anna mentioned, it's a little different because it's not like you have an open port on the browser seeing what your code is actually doing in the browser. It's a little different. So what you would do really at the very initial stages of your project, you would go into your main.js file or index or whatever you like to call it, and make a function, maybe calling it create window, and this will trigger the app to actually launch. But inside of this function, you can set up the window variable with some options defining the size in pixels of the window. So it's a window that pops up that's not associated with the browser. I mean, I guess technically it's associated because it's using the Chromium headless, but you are technically not in a browser is basically my point. So from here, you link your JS file or your CSS files, like, the super basic things that you would do with any project. Link those to your HTML file and just start structuring your app like you would with any other HTML file. And you can even use React. Like, it's literally just just creating a web app. So from there, it's super familiar. But maybe the slightly different thing comes with distribution, because with a web app, you just, you host it on something like Heroku or AWS or whatever, or GitHub. But with a desktop app, it's similar to submitting a mobile app from, if you made like an app for an iPhone and Android, you would distribute it to the stores so that people can download it from the store. So it's a little similar to that with this situation. So each store has their own way of distributing it to their respective app store, but just for Mac OS, because that's the only time I've only ever submitted apps like via Apple, so I'm more comfortable talking about it that way. So for Mac OS, you'll just need some certificates from Apple Dev Console, which is super standard. And then once you have those, I think all you do is just create this like plist file, like a .plist file, and then you insert those keys into that file that proves that you have the certificates to authorize your app. So once that's set up, just upload your project to developer.apple.com, and then you're basically good from there. There's not too many more steps from that point. I mean, I would maybe get some assets so that you have a cool icon for the app, because, you know, it is interesting because, you know, we might have, for a web app, you might have a little SVG icon for when you're, you know, saving it as a favorite tab or whatever, like a bookmark, and then it shows the cool icon, like the YouTube icon. But with this, it's like you need to have like it's almost like clickbait in a way, because you need like a cool logo and good quality picture to display like what your app kind of does without people even opening it at first. So there's a few more things to consider, because it is an app that people have to go through the trouble of it's almost as if you had a good web app, but then you told people, oh, you have to download the web app before you can even try using it to see if you like it. So the barrier for entry for, you know, customers is a little higher, because the trouble of downloading an app, you know, kind of turns people off. So you got to appeal to as many people as possible with the good set of assets and icon. So yeah, that's one of the cons too, just marketability.
Right. Yeah, I think because I know, I mean, probably a bunch of people, you know, a bunch of our listeners have seen this, how like sometimes you're going to download an application to your computer and you have, you know, a download for Mac or download for Windows button. So obviously, you know, like you have to go with whatever aligns to your operating system. But yeah, you brought up like a good point about the process of getting it on the App Store. I'm also not familiar with the Google Play Store, but I think, yeah, it's, you know, that's probably the other half of the process, or I don't know, like probably building the application is, you know, a real good chunk of it. But then, like you said, distributing and DevOps is also like another challenge that you have to tackle, you know, when you get to it. But yeah, there are, you know, several like considerations, especially if you are making your platform, like your application cross-platform. You have to consider, you know, like so many scenarios. But yeah, it's quite the process, but it's something, you know, that's cool to learn too. Like that's like the second half of the battle there.
Yeah, and we have already mentioned the sacrifice of CPU and RAM. That is something huge to consider too, because a lot of people out there, such as myself, I use too many Electron apps, to be honest. So like, I don't know, even if the next cool desktop app comes around that everybody needs, I'll be really upset if it's Electron because they already use Electron and my computer is so slow because of it. So, and unfortunately I have to use them. I could use them in the browser technically, but who wants to do that? So, you know, it'll turn some people off because they might complain about how much of an impact it has on somebody's computer. So that's something definitely to consider. But I don't know. It depends on the situation, right? Because if you created something maybe as a web app initially, and then you start thinking like further down the line, because maybe it's a startup sort of project or whatever. If you're trying to get it out there as quickly as possible and make it look as similar to the web app as possible, then Electron is probably your easiest and best bet, especially if you have a small team and not much time. So there's that. But
yeah,
you know, it's just things to consider: time, money, attention to detail, learning curves, CPU, GPU, all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think they each come with their own challenges. You know, like with web apps, you have like, you have all considerations you need to have about hosting, like you need to have like a good understanding of networking and servers, like whereas if you have a native desktop application, like you're giving the executable to the person who's downloading it, and they're going to run it on their own machine. So yeah, obviously, it might still make calls to like your server, so it's not like this application is entirely disconnected from the web. I mean, that's the whole point of this, being an HTML, CSS, JavaScript and running on a Chromium engine, is that it has some kind of semblance to a web application, but it's going to live in the user's machine. So yeah, I think that they both have like their complications, but there are a lot of applications, just like you touched on, several apps that currently use Electron. You have like Teams, for example. You can use that as the native application, but you can also use it on the browser. Same thing for Slack, and a bunch of other ones. So it's just it might be the same application, but I feel like the team, that is behind supporting each one of those, they probably have different, responsibilities because of the considerations they need to have. I mean, they're different ultimately, the front, like the customer facing side is the same because it's, has the same name and has the same purpose and all of that. But like the whole under the hood, the inner workings of each one of them, they are probably going to be quite different. So yeah, I think it depends on the scenario, but
if you want to be a real one, just do it in C or C#, something crazy like that, because then it'll run like lightning.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. I've been working with C# for work for the past couple of like months. Right. For like the past month ish, but it's I mean, I understand like the place and why C# has been like an enterprise language, just like Java for the longest time. It's just it's sometimes I have to look at legacy code, and I'm told by some of the developers how it's too old and it's not as efficient anymore, so it needs to be improved. But yeah, we can't just try to like hog everything and kill as many birds with one stone. That's not how it goes. Yeah. Because we might be sacrificing the customer experience, but you don't want that. But yeah, it's it really depends. I think it goes back to like several times when we mentioned that depending on what you're trying to achieve with your like your product, your application, there's a stack that is very good, but then I feel like sometimes it ends up being a matter of opinion. Like when I was doing the research for Electron, I was surprised at how so many people shit on it. Despite it being used by some of the best, some of the biggest tech companies ever, so it's yeah, I feel like it sometimes it's a matter of like principle, opinion, or whatever. And but yeah, then you also need to have your technical considerations. That's where like your architects with with their years of expertise will come in and make that decision, because you have a few things that you need to consider, especially if later on, if you're going to make this into a scalable application, so.
Yeah, well, if you're just curious, like, feel free to play with it. Make your own little desktop app for sure. You can make something as simple as a screen recorder, or you could make, I don't know, some sort of like file uploader that uploads to, I don't know, GitHub, for instance. You could probably do something like that. I recommend just playing around, trying it out, seeing what you can make, and seeing like what is possible to build that may not need internet connection to actually have usability or utilize. What's the word? Utility. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, it starts with a U. What is it? Yes.
Usability is a word, by the way. I found that out last year. Well, I didn't know, but hey, you're right.
Interesting news. Something.
Damn it! It's down again. That's so weird.
Never heard of it, and it's.
I wonder if it's
my
internet.
A holiday, but I see how.
Hello.
You can call it a holiday. So Anna, what?
Hello.
Holiday is happening. Whoa!
Oh,
that was weird.
Did you drop off? I don't know. That is.
That
weird.
might have been me. Yeah, my whole Zoom app just quit.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah. So apparently, when I was doing a little research today, yesterday, sorry, I just saw his face. It was really funny.
He fears me.
He does. I saw the fear in his eyes. Yeah, so yesterday was Data Privacy Day, and it's, I feel like it's very informally just like one of those bogus holidays like Donut Day and all that crap. But we have to take it seriously. It's a big topic. So we had the holiday started in the U.S. and Canada back in 2008, but actually that holiday, came like the predecessor holiday or whatever started in the early 80s, 1981, and it was called Convention 108 in Europe. And it was that's the date of the first legally binding international treaty on protecting data privacy. So I thought that was really cool, especially because there was a big article that came out sometime this week or last week. And it was about an exploitation, that a PhD student at Georgia Tech that has already exploited, Mac OS before and was paid, a hefty bounty for. He got paid out $100,000 for finding this exploit that was in Mac OS, where he essentially was able to, get past like the firewalls or like the security boundaries that Apple has placed in their Mac OS software, but by exploiting, the software of iCloud sharing and Safari 15. So he was able to inject his own code, and that essentially, it says in addition to turning on camera, his bug could also hack your iCloud, PayPal, Facebook, Gmail, and any other accounts. So it gave him like free reins over the user's account, the user's, laptop, anything that had been connected to that machine. And luckily, I think that this has already been patched, in the Mac OS software, but it just shows how there's still, like a lot of flaws, despite us being thinking that, like software is safe. There are so many things there's so many scenarios that, the developers can't account for, but this was a pretty big one. And his bounty was allegedly the biggest one that Apple has paid to date. So yeah, this guy clearly knows what he's doing and keeps finding flaws and getting, paid a ton of money for it. But at least, he's doing it for the greater good, or like pointing out the flaws instead of exploiting the flaws, So yeah. But you never know how many people maybe got, taken advantage of because of this. Like if there were other hackers that were aware of this, and he's the one that kind of like blew the whistle, So yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting how that happened.
If that's not enough inspiration for you guys to learn a little bit of code and maybe even get into pen testing, I don't know what is. $100,000 for just finding a vulnerability is just mind blowing to me. Like, like it's huge for Apple to discover that. So that's like a drop in the bucket in terms of like the money that would go along with if somebody who didn't blow the whistle on it discovered it and just kept it under wraps and hacked a bunch of people and did some crazy stuff. So for somebody who's already like distinguished in this field and like knows his stuff and came forward about it, like that's totally worth the money on their end. But for him, I don't know his financial situation, but I would imagine that $100,000 is like a pretty decent bonus for anybody, So it's huge
exactly.
that we're in this world where companies, there's even a site where like companies basically put up prizes and like cash prizes for finding vulnerabilities in their systems. So that's definitely a route if you're interested in actually making yourself kind of look like the people in the movies who know how to code and like hack away and find ways into other companies' systems. Then that might be your route, and you could actually make some really good money ethically, not just exploiting people and doing bad things. So that's amazing. I'm stoked for that guy.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, I don't think that maybe that could be like a good, future topic idea for an episode is like pen testing, how to get into like ethical hacking, because it's what it was probably my favorite course I took at UF, but I've noticed quite a few people, even at my job, they do it as a it's part of the work. We're testing like our safeguards in our platforms or products and everything like that. But I've noticed that a bunch of people, that I've had touch with recently have been getting into ethical hacking because, it's something that it shows you, how there are so many flaws out there. And yeah, sure, this guy, like this serves as a huge financial incentive to get into it. But just, I think, learning about how, things are built and trying to like understand how someone could, like a bad actor could make use of that flaw, to do something against you. Maybe, if you're interested enough, like I would highly recommend looking into it, just watching a YouTube tutorial to understand like some of the tools out there. But it would be cool for us to do like an intro, episode about ethical hacking. It's such a cool topic, and it's a very good, tech, like, I would say like a or subfield to be in, very good career prospects. So yeah, it's something that I plan on exploring more, like just for like for like a hobby. But yeah, it's cool stuff. Yeah.
Wow, we're really like we're getting these topic ideas down early. It's nice. We already have like two not in the bucket, but on the docket, I guess, for a future episode. So heck yeah. We'll definitely do that soon. I have a interesting recommendation. This isn't like one singular thing. This is more like another resource outside of our podcast. So sharing the knowledge with you guys, I could just hold it to myself and safeguard it and nitpick one thing from this every week for the rest of our show's existence and still not go through everything. Brad Traversy's GitHub repo, it's resources for developers. It has, gosh, I don't know how many, probably hundreds of different resources on just about everything from UI graphics. Let's see, what else do we have here? Templates, frameworks, animations, components and kits. Let's see. Even like design software, extensions, image compression. Like each of those things has probably 20 different resources related to that topic. So just having this open while you have a project in progress is just insanely valuable. I just can't even believe that he put something this organized together and out just for free. Like usually you would have to scour the internet, go to so many different articles and just like see what other people are recommending. But this dude, like everybody knows Brad Traversy. He is a great teacher on YouTube and does his own courses and stuff. It's insane. And I was really hesitant to even share this with everybody because now I'm like, well, damn, that's like 100 recommendations that I can't recommend now because they're all right here. So I figured it would just be best because I just know next time I build something, I'm going to have this tab open. And whenever I'm like, like a cool little animation icon thing would be cool here, but I can't even name a website where I could find that. But luckily, he has like 10 of them here where you could pick one. So, that would be my recommendation. This is like literally a Bible for developers. I would say this is just so important to know about. So that'll be linked below.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I found it and that is incredible. Yeah, like I wonder, and I see that he just updated it 9 days ago, so he's still maintaining it.
It is, I think, 2 years old, and 6 days ago. There's still like pull requests from other people, so other people contribute as well. So that's really great.
Right.
Has 35.3 thousand stars, 8,000 forks. It's insane. 300-ish people contributing to it or have contributed to it. It's great. Go check it out.
Damn, that's really neat. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing this. How did you even come across it? Were you watching one of his tutorials and he linked it?
No, I wasn't, but I don't remember how I found it actually. I think, it was on Twitter. I found it was a Twitter thread of like the 10 most important GitHub repos, and this was like probably like one of the top ones. So yeah, and this was the one that caught my eye the most for sure. All the other ones really great for specific things. Like one of them was, it had a funny title. I don't remember what it was called, but it had something to do with like unit testing, and it also had like a huge list of strings and like integers and stuff that you could put into input boxes and stuff to just test and see what happens, like just for every single use case. So it's like a good reference point for testing. But this is like a good reference point for every corner of web development. So this just caught my eye.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is an amazing resource. Because it has so many categories, and yeah, it's so organized. Definitely something to. I already starred the repo. I definitely want to keep an eye on it.
Yes, perfect. What would be your recommendation?
So I had one. Let me leave that one for a later date. Still testing it. I'm not gonna ruin it. It's nothing like it's not a big deal. But I just remember there is something that I'm currently in love with. So for Christmas, I got an electric tea kettle because I really do like drinking tea, probably more than coffee, honestly. And what I was doing prior to that was, putting some hot water in a mug, putting it in the microwave and letting it get hot enough, and then, put my tea bag in it. I was like, no, I drink, tea often enough that I think having an electric one would be cool. And I use that thing, I think, every single day this week. So I can't recommend it enough because it boils water in like less than 2 minutes. So I love it. I love it. It's, I don't know, it's cool. It has a little light too. It beeps when it's done boiling, but I highly recommend getting one if you don't. So like, especially if you do like drinking tea,
Is it a fellow?
No, I think I have.
Those are nice.
It's either, yeah, I have one that has all the buttons on the handle,
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we got it at Kohl's. I knew I was getting it for Christmas because I picked it, and Sam already knew like that I wanted one. I'm trying to find it, and I don't remember the brand now, but this one wasn't too expensive. It was pretty affordable because I know that there's some really nice ones like the which one is this one? Like it has like the nice Bodum Goose, like it has the nice or Stag, like this one is $160, but no, mine was probably a third of that price, and I really just needed it to to boil water for my tea. But the funny thing is, I think I had to boil water for something I was making for food, and I didn't want to wait for the to boil water on the stovetop, so I just boiled, it was probably for noodles or mashed potatoes or whatever it was. And I just boiled the water in the tea kettle, poured it, and it was done in like less than 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Whereas to boil water on the stovetop, like it would take way longer.
Can take a bit,
yeah. Yeah. So I love the thing. It's really cool.
We didn't mention this, but for Christmas, Anna got me the coolest knife ever. Like I really do like kitchen knives and having like nice quality knives. Because, I don't want to cut my finger off, so I'd rather it slice through nicely than slip and actually cut me. Because I've cut myself more with crappier knives than nicer knives for sure. Although the moment that I was done washing the knife that you got me, I cut myself because I picked it up and I was like, I don't know, it just like cut me. And I was like, all right, well, this thing's really sharp. It's a Babish knife, and it's so cool. I love it. It just slices through so well. That could have been my recommendation today. It's a great knife for sure.
Yeah, I ended up buying myself one too. I haven't used it yet, but I can't wait, to get started on it. I don't know, I have to find something to cut. Like there wasn't anything that we ate this week that I needed like, a big knife for. But yeah, I feel like whenever we buy chicken, like if I really like making, grilled kebabs, so you have to cut them into cubes. And any of the knives that we have, cutting chicken, because, it's like it has some grease on it and it's, watery or whatever when it's raw. It was always such a pain that I was like, oh, I need a really good sharp knife. It will make this process so much faster. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm glad that you told me that you like that one. It came really like highly recommended because I know that we talked about Japanese knives like a little while ago, but those are like hundreds of dollars. And I was like, I don't know, like they look great and everything, but I'm not a sushi chef or anyone that needs, like a really fancy Japanese knife. But that one came like it had really good reviews, so I'm glad you like it. I think it's really neat. I've been a big fan of Babish too. I think you like him as well. Right?
Yeah, of course. He's one of my favorites. Another favorite of mine is Joshua Weissman. He's
oh yeah,
they're friends, I think. But I'm sure his videos come up when you watch Babish videos. But I have his cookbook, and it's amazing. I probably pick like a couple things out of it every week, and they're so fun. Nice. I made it was like a fried chicken sandwich. We were like just feeling crazy. We're like, let's make fried chicken sandwiches like Popeyes or Chick-fil-A or something. And here, I'll pull up a picture and show you. It came out so like it looked super good, and it tasted amazing. And we actually had a guest over, and I was like, oh man, I've never made this before. I hope it's actually good. And either they were really polite or they were genuinely into it because they loved it and they wanted more. So here, check this out.
Oh my gosh, that looks so good.
Yeah, it's not really focusing.
And the best part is that it's homemade.
Yeah,
it's so different eating food that you cook yourself. Because I've noticed like I never feel that great after I eat out anymore. Like unless it's like a really good restaurant that they're putting in the time, like they select the ingredients, the handling is good. Like fast food, I just feel so crappy. And it's such a difference like when we make a homemade meal. I feel totally fine, and you have 100% control over everything you put in it and how clean you are and all that stuff. So yeah, I have to make like a better effort now that I don't have to spend time, studying to cook more at home. But it's cool to get creative, and now with that knife, it should be the push that I need.
Yeah. It is dangerous, but it's a great tool for sure.
Yeah. Right. It can cut paper. I think I tested it. Did you test yours?
Yeah, I tested it with paper too. Okay, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Yeah, I tested mine as soon as it came in. I was like, Sam, look, slicing the paper. It's just like, oh, wow, impressive. I was like, yeah, it is.
Real life fruit ninja.
Oh, man. Yeah, right, exactly.
Was there anything else?
But yeah, no, I think, like I said, the recommendation I had for today, I'm glad I thought of the tea kettle because I definitely love that, but I'm going to hold out for this one. I need to test it a little longer to see if I really want to recommend it.
See, guys, we're authentic here. We don't just recommend things to recommend things. We do it because we care about you guys. So.
Yeah, exactly. I don't write reviews or rarely do, but I want to be genuine about the things I recommend on here.
Well, if that's everything, then I guess Tech Heads are signing off. So thank you guys for listening. As always, you can reach out to us doing whatever, Twitter, check us out on YouTube. Leave us some comments on YouTube and subscribe. I think our YouTube following is super small compared to everything else. So check out the YouTube.
Yeah.
I understand why you may not, but because it is just audio, but yeah, once we decide to do like the video version of it as well, which hopefully is sort of soon, please give us some love on YouTube. So if that's everything, I think we'll see you guys next week. Well, I know we'll see you guys next week, but I think that's everything for today. So thank you guys. Anna, any last words?
No. I just wanted to wish everybody a nice week. I'm going to go out and enjoy the really good weather in Florida today.
Yeah, same. I'm about to go. I think I'm going to go to the dog park. It's too nice out here. It's a little cold, but It's like clear skies, beautiful. I need to get outside.
Same.
Just a week of working inside, and I'm ready. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care, everyone.
Peace.